Success shouldn't feel this exhausting. If you're winning on paper, but burning out behind the scenes, you aren't failing. You're stuck in a psychological bottleneck called a hurdle of stop. I've been there. On the outside, things look great, but I was secretly burning out, convinced I was just lucky, and waiting to be exposed as a fraud. I realized I didn't have a business problem. I had a mindset block. Whether it's imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or fear or failure, these aren't just feelings. They are growth bottlenecks. Identify your specific hurdle and get one immediate action step to regain your momentum today. Go to tuepodcast.net/quiz. That's tuepodcast.net/quiz to take the 3-minute assessment and get your report now. This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
If your desire is larger than the challenge that's in front of you, you're going to push past and do it, right? But if the challenge is greater than the desire you have in your heart, then you're just probably going to quit and try something different if the challenge arises. So yeah, it's like if all I was doing it was for the money, that would have been great until it got hard. And then I wouldn't have known what to do because I wouldn't have had the desire to push through the challenges that would have been required of me if the dealership ever got hard. So yeah, I think to get yourself across, you got to find what's going to light that fire for you.
Are you ready to unlock your entrepreneur potential? Are you ready to break free from all the barriers holding you back? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, your first step in getting across the start line. Let's get across that start line together, right here, right now, on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Salutations, School Believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. We're here with Jason. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited today.
All right, me too. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, get across the start line.
Yeah. Looking forward to being here.
All right. So before we start anything, I have one kind of semi-serious question to ask you. Okay,
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Are you a school believer?
Absolutely.
All right, Jason's a school believer. Woohoo! All right, thank you, Jason. I appreciate you.
Yep.
All right, so what I'd like to do here at the very beginning is just get kind of an idea of who you are, what your entrepreneur adventure is, and how you got across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure.
Yeah. So I grew up working for my family. So my dad is a car dealer in Akron, Ohio. If you ever come here, you'll see my last name, VanDevere, all over Akron. VanDevere, Kia, Cadillac, Chevy. They got 5 dealerships. So I was in line to be the 4th generation to own and manage these portfolio of car dealerships. So I grew up working in all the different departments. My dad wanted me to work in every department for a year, maybe even several years, so I could learn the whole business. And somewhere in there, I realized it wasn't a passion of mine. It's just not what I wanted to do with my life. And even though everyone told me it was a crazy idea to leave the family business, to turn down that opportunity, I left with basically nothing. And I pursued a dream of mine. So random dream, but I wanted to design a planner. So I left my job. I spent months interviewing successful individuals, finding out how they set their goals, track their goals. I put together this design for the Goal Crazy Planner. And for a few years, all I was doing was selling planners online. And then that turned into workshops and courses, a coaching program. I have a podcast on my own, the Goal Crazy Podcast. Most recently, I just wrote a book, Dream Driven.
Nice.
And then somewhere on the side, I started investing in real estate. So I've got up to 34 apartments. And I would say that's like my highlight reel. Aside from that, I'm like most entrepreneurs, I'm just figuring it out as I'm going. And many of the things along the way that I did also did not work out. But that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're all kind of on that train of trying to figure out as we go along, kind of building the airplane on the way, off the cliff. So
yeah, yep.
But it had to have been difficult because you went from a 4th generation car dealer. I used to be a car salesman. I think I mentioned that earlier. So I kind of feel where you're coming from. And just kind of branched off. That must have been really difficult for you because it's kind of like, why am I doing this? Even though you're following a passion, I kind of understand that. It's got to be kind of rough on the back of your mind.
It was, but When I was working at the dealership, if you ever go to one of the dealerships, you'll know if my dad is there because you'll hear him. He's loud, he's very excited, and you'll just be able to see that he has so much passion for the car business. He loves it. It's an extension of himself, this business that he's built. In growing up working there, it's like I knew I wanted that. Like I wanted a fire inside of me for my career, for what I was doing. And when I worked there, I realized I wasn't gonna find it there at the dealership. And now, so I am lucky. My great grandpa started it. My grandpa had it. Now my dad and my uncle co-own it, and my uncle has kids who are going into the business. So the business should not die, but I was not the path that I chose for myself. But it was a hard decision. I was afraid to tell them that I wanted to leave.
Yeah, we really kind of got like, hey, Dad, I hate to tell you this, but but it's nice that you got over that hump, that you got out of that comfort zone and actually be able to tell them, because you probably been miserable the rest of the time that you were there because it's not in your zone of genius, or not the, what you said, the fire inside of you. And that would have been really hard to take.
Yeah, I would have been doing it just for the money, which is I think where most people are with their career, is like they're doing it not because it gives them the freedom that they want, that it's not because they enjoy it or get the vacation time, or probably maybe not even the income that they want, but they're just doing it for a paycheck. And it would have been a very nice paycheck that I would have been earning potentially if I did a good job running the dealerships, but I would have been just doing it for the money, and I didn't want to do that.
We got to avoid that. We're doing it just for the money. It's really tough because that money seems good, but it doesn't. There's a big difference between abundance and money and abundance and passion.
Mm-hmm.
And having that abundance and passion is really what's going to drive you throughout the rest of your life, more than likely. But just going for just the money, it's like it's very, very, very temporary to have that.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah.
All right. So what I'd like to do here is, what do you think actually stops new entrepreneurs from getting across the start line? We have different types of problems and things that stop us from going. What do you think stops most entrepreneurs from getting across the start line in their entrepreneur adventures?
Yeah, probably fear, and they don't know where to start are probably the things there. And I know those are one of them is one of your 4 hurdles there. That's what I think it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. Fear goes right here. First, false evidence appearing real. It's not nothing that's gonna, it's not a saber-toothed tiger that's gonna bite us in the rear, and it's nothing that's really gonna hurt us. It's just something that it triggers a mechanism in our head, a very old mechanism in our head that tries to protect us. But sometimes it's actually, and I like making this point too, sometimes it points you in a direction. If you fear it, you need to go towards it instead of away from it. And that's, I think, what happened to you in your in the car salesman and getting the dealership. And I'm sure you're afraid to, you said earlier, you were afraid to tell your dad, hey, I don't want to do this. But since you got over that fear, it wasn't something that wasn't going to hurt you that bad. You actually came out really far ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The fear, I was afraid of him, but I had a dream inside of me. And I think that's what really helped me get across the finish line, is I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And it was, I wanted to launch this planner business. And I think that's a really deep question. What do you want to do with your life? But I think once you can get clarity on that and you find this dream that's going to light a fire inside of you, that's what's going to give you the courage to go push through those challenges. Because you brought up earlier, right? We don't want to just be doing it for the money. And I think it's like, if your desire is larger than the challenge that's in front of you, you're going to push past and do it, right? But if the challenge is greater than the desire you have in your heart, then you're just probably going to quit and try something different if the challenge arises. So yeah, it's like if all I was doing it was for the money, that would have been great until it got hard. And then I wouldn't have known what to do because I wouldn't have had the desire to push through the challenges that would have been required of me if the dealership ever got hard. So yeah, I think to get yourself across, you got to find what's going to light that fire for you.
Exactly. Do me a favor. What inspired you to do this? I mean, you said you wanted to do the planner. I get that, but what actually inspired you to do the planner? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah. So when I was working in those different departments at the dealership, I got very obsessed with planners, and lots of that was because of the nature of the role. I would show up, I'd go into a new department. I was only going to be there for a few months or a little over a year. And I need to figure out, all right, what are the goals of this department? What are the habits I need to have every day so I can succeed? There was maybe a pressure inside of me that I needed to perform well, right? My name is on the building. I'm potentially going to be all these people's boss one day. Like I want them to earn their respect by how I perform here. So I was using all these planners because I just needed to keep myself on track to these goals. And I was ordering all these different planners. They all had the right promises and keywords when I was buying them. But I feel like when I would order them, they just wouldn't deliver on what I was looking for. And I was reading a lot of self-help books. I was attending lots of conferences. And I feel like that I was learning these principles that successful people were operating under. And I just wanted it all together in a planner. I wanted this planner where it's like, I know if I put my goals into this planner and follow the process, I'm going to reach my goals. And I just wanted to find that template. And now I believe I've made it after a lot of hard work. But that's what initially put it on my mind in this desire. One, I wanted it for myself, and I also wanted it for other people because I at least was on a track at the dealership I was on a very successful path that many people might not have the same opportunity, but I wanted to give them the confidence, like if they had the right method to accomplish their goals, they could still go have success even if their family doesn't own a large dealership. And I would say that still was a desire of mine when I was leaving the dealership. I feel like growing up, my friends would kind of tease me about like, Jason's got the golden ticket, right? Like all he has to do is keep his same last name, smile his way through working for his family, and he'll go be successful. And that saddened me in a way because I truly believe it's like everyone has the same opportunity to be successful as I did. They're just gonna have to work for it. And I would still have to work at my family's dealership. It might have been a very straight path, but I wanted to prove to other people, look, being successful, it doesn't just come from you having the right parents who own a big business. It comes from you having the courage to go out and do something that's going to serve others and accomplish your goals. So hopefully the planner would then give them the framework to make that happen.
You hit some very good points there. And the one I'd really like to kind of reiterate on too is being able to help others. And I think being able to help others is its own reward too. I mean, because there's a difference between having $1 and then having that warm fuzzy feeling in your chest that you know is going to stay with you because you know you helped somebody achieve a goal, or you got a promise that was kept that made a big difference in their lives, and you had something to do with that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's a lot more rewarding. One of the main goals I track for myself is lives changed, and maybe those are like clients that sign me on, or maybe it's someone that I met at our church and a piece of advice I gave them, they went and did something with it. Like if I helped them make a change in their life, I track it for myself. And it's just so rewarding because that's what lights the fire inside of me more than just chasing the money.
And there's a part of that too, a world that you're also a part of that we changed lives too. And that's in podcasting and teaching others that listen to us what we've learned and changing their lives too. That's a little harder to track, but it does happen.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure you've gotten people though reach out when they hear an episode and they tell you like, hey, I really needed that, or that was phenomenal, or I implemented what that one guest said. And I've got like a little barometer thing here in my office where I track lives changed for the month, and I would color it in because it's just one more person. I'm going to give myself credit for it.
There you go. And you fill that in. It makes you feel good when you're able to fill that in.
Yeah.
And I like the fact too that you take the best of everything that you've learned from all these other places, whether it be webinars that you've gone to or conferences or even books that you've read, and combine them into yourself to make one final product. And that's what I try to do too. But the end product is always going to be different for everybody because our experiences in our lives are different. But being able to get that one final product from all the learnings and teachings that you've had to one place is really what makes a difference.
Yeah. Because when I quit my job, I spent months interviewing successful individuals, and having a family with connections did help with that. I was able to get in contact with a lot of business owners and ask them how they accomplished things. But probably what was really helpful then is after I made this design, one of them recommended I host focus groups. He was like, you got to host a focus group, take people through this design. And I thought that was a silly idea to host a focus group. But out of respect to him, I did it. And That was so powerful for me. One, that meeting was scheduled to go an hour. I had six people go through this design, and the meeting ended up going over 3 hours long. We didn't even make it through the whole design. And really, it was painful. People were telling me all negative feedback like, this is confusing. I don't get what I'm supposed to do here. This is too much writing. This seems repetitive. And when I left that meeting, I felt crushed. What have I done? I've spent months now. I turned down a great opportunity. I've told the world I'm making this planner, and I feel embarrassed that I even showed it to other people. But then I had this clear list of things that I needed to fix. It was like, all right, I'd rather get all this information up front, but when I can change it rather than after I've launched the product and get bad reviews. And there was just like trying to figure out the right way to take so much beautiful, great information and strategies I learned from these people, but then how do I put it in an easy, straightforward process that's not too much, that's not too little, that somebody could actually get results from. And I ended up hosting 7 of those focus groups because I just kept going until eventually the last 2 of them, it was like we went through it. Maybe they noticed a few typos, small things, but they would try it out. It would work, and they were getting results. And finally, I was like, all right, it's ready to get this actually started.
That's right. It's always negative feedback is not always a bad thing. Some of us want the negative feedback so we know what we need to work on, just like you did. I mean,
Yeah.
and getting it out from other people that don't know exactly who you are is probably the best. Because like you can go to a family member or a friend or something like that, and they'll go through like, "Oh, this is great." It's like, no, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear what's bad about it so I can fix it. But they're going to want to save your feelings or whatever. So being able to turn around behind to the guy behind you and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" I did that with my podcast cover. I was at a coffee shop, and the woman behind me was in line, and I bought her coffee and turned around and said, "What do you think of this podcast cover?"
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was great. It's great information. Don't take it so hard that you're getting negative feedback, because then eventually, after you make these fixes, after you make these solve these problems that you've had with the negative things, it starts to work itself out. And those last 2 focus groups were the kind of final things like, okay, I finally fixed everything that needs to fix. I have a viable product that I could put out there.
Yeah. Yeah, they were powerful.
And silly, but not silly. That's what I call it. Yes, it's silly. I'm a silly guy, so what can I say? But even though it seemed silly to you at first, getting over that thought of it being silly and actually holding these focus groups again and again and again to get to where you need to be. If you thought it was so silly that you didn't do it, it never would have happened.
Oh yeah, my business would have absolutely failed if I did not host those focus groups. Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so I have a question I'd like to ask all my guests. Now, you've been on a few podcasts, and you have a podcast too. So you always hear like, "Oh, what's your biggest pitfall? What's your biggest problem? Blah, 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 blah." So I like to put a little bit of a spin on that. And I like to ask, what was your biggest pitfall that you're most proud of? It's the pitfall that happened that was like, I'm glad I had this pitfall, because if I didn't, this outcome never would have happened. Now, we talked about your planner. Do you have anything else besides that you could talk about?
Yeah, probably like big pitfall. So with my real estate, I'm gonna add 2 things here. With my planner, I struggled with that for years. Like it did not turn a profit for about 2 years. And one, I'm glad I had the big fire inside of me. Otherwise, I just would have quit and tried to launch an easier product. But that was so necessary for me. I was young. I was like 23 years old. I needed to struggle for years to let some bad habits die, to just get more focused on my life. It fully challenged me. It fully challenged me. And because of that, I had to start getting healthier habits. I had to stop hanging out with certain people because they were getting in the way of me creating the life I wanted. I needed to get more disciplined. I couldn't stay up till 2 a.m. I needed to organize my life so I could create the right structure to run my business. So I would say that, but kind of made I started buying rental properties. I knew absolutely nothing about how to repair them. And my plan was just, I'm going to pray that I don't have problems. And that didn't happen. Well, I did pray, but I had tons of problems.
Yeah.
Small problems, big problems, air conditioners break. I've had apartments flood. I've had 3 times a tree get struck by lightning and land on the roof of one of my properties during like a sunny day. Like they would call me saying a tree landed on the roof, and I would look outside like, how? Where's the storm? But the crazy thing though is like I was always wishing that I had this business with no problems, right? But after years of having lots of these, when I was finally buying one of my first bigger deals, so a 24 unit apartment building, I remember I was walking through that property and I could look at each problem I saw and be like, okay, here's a problem. It's going to cost me this much, and I know how to handle it. And here's this will need replaced. I know exactly how much it's going to cost. I have a written process so my assistant can get it all done without me even thinking about it. And somewhere in there, I realized that rather than me being given a business and rental properties with 0 problems like I had wished for, I was given something so much better. I was actually taught how to be a landlord. Right? Like those problems that I thought were going to be the enemy of me ever being successful, those were the requirement for me learning how to actually run a business. So yeah, it was a pitfall. I went into it completely blind, but it forced me to learn really quick. And now I have learned a few things on how to handle problems as they arise.
And School Believers, I want you to listen and pay close attention to that story, because he did something that I like to call a pre-mortem instead of a post-mortem after the bad things have happened. You think about it, you do a pre-mortem where you walk through, and you could do this with your business, you could do this with your book, you could do this with anything. But you walk through, okay, what are the problems that could happen when I do this thing? And that way, when you come up with this list of things that could happen, now how do I get over these problems when they do happen? So now when you're going along your entrepreneur adventure and one of those problems come up, you already have a blueprint for how to get around that problem or get over the problem, however you want to do it. So performing a pre-mortem in whatever you're doing can be a very crucial step for your entrepreneur adventure.
Yeah, that's good.
So what I'd like to know here is, you talked about habits, and habits are huge. We've read many, many books about habits. How did you break some of these habits? Was there a specific routine that you did, or something you looked out for when you knew you had a habit that you wanted to break?
So a big thing for me is I'm going to keep going back to this a lot, but I had this fire inside of me that I wanted to launch this business. And it was like, after I launched my business, sales were coming in and people were getting incredible results. So there was enough like traction that I knew I could make this work. I just needed to figure out how to turn a profit selling these things. But it just became clear that those habits were getting in the way of me. Like if I'm going to go out, if I was young and I was going to go out on the weekend and spend a bunch of money, staying up late, drinking with friends, it was very clear that was going to move me away from creating the successful life that I wanted. Or eating super unhealthy, not taking care of my body, and now I'm exhausted and taking naps in the middle of the day, not having any structure and staying up late. I would say like probably how I learned what habits I should be doing is I wanted to go find people that I would wanted to model, right? One time a mentor of mine, he told me, Jason, that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? So whenever you want to accomplish something, the quickest way to do it is find someone who's already accomplished that and just ask them how they did it. Boom. There's your straight line. So that was like my mission for those 2 years of I need to find successful e-commerce business owners and ask them how they're running their business, ask them how they're living their life. And what I was really looking for when I was talking to those people is what are the successful behaviors that they're doing every single day that's leading to their successes, right? Your successful behaviors lead to your successes, or your unsuccessful behaviors lead to your failures. So by having those conversations, it was easier for me to realize here's the successful behaviors that they're doing that's leading to the successes. And it was also shined a light on like, well, here's the really unsuccessful behaviors I'm doing that's leading to my failures. And then I would keep a list. This is part of my planner, so that framework applied here. But as I recognize these successful behaviors, I kept a list. I make a scorecard for myself. It's their bookmark in their planner, but it's a scorecard of the 10 successful behaviors I want to do every single day. And every night I'll grade myself against that scorecard. How many of those successful behaviors did I do? If I did 7 of the 10, I had a 70% day. And it's just a really easy way to hold yourself accountable to make sure you're doing the successful behaviors you need to the success that you want.
I love the scorecard idea. That's fantastic. And that's
Yeah.
that's in your planner, right? You have that in the planner?
Correct. Yeah, their planner. So I've got one right here. People are watching this, but the planner comes with three of these. You don't need a fancy planner to do this, but it's kind of like a note card sort of thing that breaks down 10 lines for you to have your successful behaviors. And if you're just listening along, you can come up with this. For every goal I set, I want to figure out what's the successful behavior I need to do every day that'll bring me to that goal, right? My successful behaviors lead to my successes. So once I clarify these, I have my list of 10. This is their bookmark, but on the side of their daily page, there's 10 check marks. So they can go through and check off which ones they did and then give themselves a grade.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for building that and coming up with that idea. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. So I want to hit a little bit on your accomplishments up to this point because you've had several. I'm looking at one right behind you there. I just looked at one just a second ago. Tell me about a little more about your book, because I always talk about accomplishments and our greatest accomplishments. Our kids or what family obviously is an accomplishment, but let's talk about the business side of that.
Yeah, the business side of the book.
Of our accomplishments, so which is the book. I like kind of give me an idea about the book. I mean, dream driven, yes.
Dream driven. So, dream driven, the subtitle is the step-by-step process to discover your perfect business idea and launch it this year. So, it really walks people through three main things. One, figuring out the perfect business idea, one that'll light a fire inside of them to go out and overcome the challenges that'll arise. The second is how to validate it, that it's a winning idea before you go spend time and money launching it. And then the third is how to launch it this year. So, that's kind of the layout of the book. It's got a lot of my own stories and lessons in there. I've had the privilege of working with various entrepreneurs over the past 3 years, people ranging from just getting started in their entrepreneurial journey to people who already have seven-figure businesses and are working on growing them. So there's lots of these lessons put in there. And, with having a podcast, you meet a ton of great people. So things that I've been able to learn or themes I've been able to see from these entrepreneurs and putting it into this book. So it's a really clear roadmap for somebody figuring out how to make their business happen. And maybe this is going to be a longer answer than you're looking for here, but just to explain the dream-driven concept is starting a business and you're looking for this perfect business idea. There are two routes that I believe you can take to finding this perfect business idea. The first one is what I call the easy money route, and the second is the dream-driven route. So the easy money route is what most people do. And I was an entrepreneurship major in college. I would say that's what they taught. This easy money route is you scour the market to find the perfect product or widget to sell that will earn you the most amount of money the easiest, right? And that's the question at the root of this foundation. What product or service will earn me the most amount of money the easiest? Now, the problem with this is if you use this as the foundation to launch your business, just like we were talking about earlier, there's no desire behind it. So since the foundation is easy money, if either the easy or the money component disappear, you're just going to quit and you're going to go look for another business idea. And the reality is starting a business is hard. It's just hard. It's very likely that at some point the easy component or the money component will disappear for a while, and then you're going to jump ship to something easier, or that's going to potentially pay you higher money, and you're probably just going to jump ship from idea to idea. The better route is the dream-driven approach, where you search in your heart, what do you want to do with your life? And once you can answer that question, and the book gives them lots of exercises to really nail the clarity down on that. But once you understand what you want to do with your life, then you can create this business to be the means to make that dream of yours happen. So rather than scouring the market for this perfect product or widget to sell, I want people to scour their heart to figure out what do you want, what's going to light a fire inside of you, because that's what's going to give you the courage to push through all the challenges that are basically guaranteed to arise as you're going.
Exactly. And instead of looking for the money, and I do something similar too. I call it finding our zone of genius, the thing that really puts us in that flow state, that puts that fire in you, that you could do something forever and not be tired of it because you love it so much. Like something happens called Einstein time, where it's like you feel like only 10 or 15 minutes go by. You look up, an hour has gone by, but you've accomplished so much in that amount of time. It's uncanny.
Yeah.
So,
and I I do think like it makes it way more enjoyable, gives you the fire, the courage, but I don't want to tell people the money can't come. I think actually the money can come in greater abundance because there's a burning fire to making it happen about the money. There's like if somebody tells me what they want to do with their life is earn money, I would say they don't actually know the answer to the question. You don't actually know what you want to do with your life. If you don't know what you want to do with your life, then your answer is go earn money because money has this conception that it can solve all your problems. But it's like, no, no, no. After you had all the money, if you got millions in the bank, you can live off the interest. What would you do with your life then? What business idea would you do just for fun? Probably that is going to light the fire inside of you to make it happen and to do it in a really great way that your customers love and appreciate, and then the money will follow.
Exactly. The money will follow. That's the one thing that you have to remember. If we're not going to, it's a long game. You have to understand the money is going to be there, but it's not going to be there tomorrow. And when the money comes, it comes because there's a breaking point there where it just starts coming in and you still love what you're doing. The money is like kind of a side thing. It's like, oh, I get paid to do this too. Oh, great. So that's kind of what I think of when I hear about that.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So what I'd like to know here is if you came across a brand new entrepreneur that's just getting started, what kind of advice would you give them? What steps would you have them take? I think we've already covered a couple of them already, especially when it comes to your book, but let's kind of give them a quick rundown.
Yeah. So this would be somebody who already knows what they want to start, and then they're looking for the first steps to get it started. Am I following that correctly? Mm-hmm. So first thing I would tell them is you got to go find the mentors to learn from. Just like I talked about, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? And in my book, I break down 8 different ways to get in contact with these business owners. Because if you want to launch a podcast, for example, I would make it your mission to go find successful podcasters who have a business that you want to emulate and get in contact with them so you can figure out how they did it. So when I'm looking for these mentors, I look for 3 things. I want them to be successful, right? I don't want to learn from somebody who's not successful. I want them to be in a similar business to what I want to do. It doesn't have to be the exact same. If you want to launch a podcast about cats and I'm going to talk to somebody who has a podcast about business, like similar enough. And then I don't want the person to view me as competition would be the third thing. Because if they're going to view me as competition, they're not going to share with me the actual trade, their secret sauce, right? Now, depending on the industry, like podcasting, I can share with other podcasters as much as I want. There's enough to go around. Same with real estate. I've got tons of real estate investor friends in the area. Real estate to go around. Not all industries have that same opportunity, but I would want to find somebody who's not similar, not competition. A couple ways I find these people though. Easiest way would be to reach out to people you already know, right? Friends, family. Who do you know who's done something like you want to emulate? Or who do you know who knows somebody? Maybe you've got a uncle who works in marketing who knows a ton of business owners. Ask them if they can connect you with somebody. If you exhaust that, then I cold call people. Lots of people are afraid of doing this, but I will cold call people. For example, maybe 2 years ago, there was this small mobile home park available for sale in our area, and I looked at buying it as an investment, and I knew nothing about mobile home parks. So I started calling all the other mobile home parks in our area, and I just asked them, can I speak to the owner? And many of them weren't helpful to me politely or not so politely. They just told me, no, they're not going to help me. But I was able to find a handful of these mobile home park owners that I cold called that were extremely helpful. They were telling me, here's what you should look for, or I know the person who services that mobile home park. Here's their cell number. You should call him. And they were so helpful. So I do that. I would look for also, you can find communities typically where these types of business owners hang out. Ideally, if they're in person, maybe there's like BNI groups or marketing meetups. I would try and meet them in person, but if it's not, then you can look online. Typically, if it's online, my strategy to connect with people, I'll go back to the example for the mobile home park. I found forums and Facebook groups that mobile home park owners were in, and I'd post a question, a genuine question that would be hard for me to find out, but they would know very quickly because they're in the space. I post a question, and if people respond to it, then the people who respond, I would send them a message and say like, hey, thank you so much for helping me with that. Any chance you'd be willing to hop on a quick call with me for 10 to 15 minutes? I'm clueless. I just need some guidance. And if you put enough of these out there, you're gonna find people to jump. I'm gonna give one last strategy, and then you can cut me off because I can go on this for a while. But another great opportunity is look for businesses for sale, like the one that you'd want to start. For example, a few years ago really wanted to start growing my email list for my e-commerce business. And I was weighing out like, do I want to put in the work to start growing this on my own, or do I want to buy an email list and in it just tap into? Want to buy one like yours, shortcut the process, or do I want to start my own from scratch? And after talking with them, one, I realized I wanted to build mine from scratch, but I was able to learn a ton of great information on how to do it. And a lot of times when you are looking at a business that's for sale, it often gives you the opportunity to sit down with the owner of that business, go through their profit and loss, through their balance sheet, line by line, and ask them, hey, how'd you get this? How'd you get this number so large? Or how'd you get these expenses so low? It's an incredible opportunity. Again, I would only do this if you're genuinely interested in the potential of buying versus starting your own. But it can be an incredible opportunity to meet people and learn from them. And you might find, I have found lots of rental properties that way and learned a ton from the owners as I was buying them. So it can just be a really good opportunity. So that would be first place to start, regardless of the industry. Find someone who's already done it, ask them how they did it.
All right. That's awesome. Thank you, Jason. We're going to clip a lot of that out for the Scoop Believers to listen to. That's some fantastic information. We'll make sure they get all of it.
Good.
So I'd like to, you have the book and are you still selling the planner?
Oh yeah. Yep.
How do we get a hold of these wonderful things? I want to give them an opportunity there to get them.
Yeah. So my planner you can get it at goalcrazy.com. It's goal like a soccer goal. Don't go crazy, goal crazy. So goalcrazy.com, or it's on Amazon. If you search Goal Crazy Planner, it'll come up. My book is called Dream Driven. Right now, the only place it's available is on Amazon.
All right, fantastic. We'll actually have links to all that in the show notes. So in case you're driving or you can't get to it right now, you can go back into the show notes and click on that and it'll go right to it. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is a tradition I have with all my guests. I'd like to know in the next 6 months, what goals do you have for yourself and your company? What are you looking at for the next 6 months for yourself, Jason?
Yeah. 100 lives changed. I want to change 100 lives. Now, one of the big things that's behind that is when I'd signed on with my publisher to write this book, I dropped all of my coaching clients just because I had to say no to something so I could say yes to this book. So now that my book has been out for a little over a month, I want to re-get that coaching program going. So it's basically going to be taking the exact stuff from the book and just guiding people through the process. But it's not like the book teaches just steps 1 through 3, and then the coaching program would teach them 4 through 10. It's like, nope, everything is in the book. Everything's in there. You don't actually need me. But if you read the book and you're like, look, I want somebody to hold my hand and make sure I actually do this, I'm going to have a coaching program for that. So to get that going, but I want to have 100 lives changed over the next 6 months.
All right, fantastic. So what I'd like to do with you, Jason, is I'd actually like to follow up with you in 6 months, see how many lives that you've changed, and hopefully you got a few coaching clients too. Would that be okay with you?
I would love that. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Because you're not just accountable to me now, you're accountable to all my Screw Believers that's listening to this podcast, okay?
Yeah, I think that's great.
All right. All right, Jason, this is your time to shine. How do we get a hold of you? How do we find out more about you and all that good stuff? Okay, ready, set, go.
Yes, goalcrazy.com is going to be the best place to go. I do have a podcast, which is also called Goal Crazy. But for people who are curious about starting a business and they're working to find what's going to be that perfect business idea that'll light the fire inside of them, I put together a free course on my website. If you go to goalcrazy.com/idea, it'll help you clarify that perfect business idea for you. That'll give you the drive, the motivation to push through the challenges and make it happen.
All right, Jason. Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll have that link in the show notes as well, too. Jason, this has been an absolute blast. I love when two car salesmen get together and just go off crazy because it makes it such a great conversation.
Absolutely. It's been fun.
All right. All right, Jason. Thank you so much. All right, Scoop Believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. All right, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Scoop Believers. What a great episode with Jason. I love talking to him and listening to everything he had to say. A lot of great points in here, but I do have 2 major takeaways I want to make sure you're paying attention to. The fire inside you is worth more than any golden ticket. Don't stay trapped in comfort of someone else's dream just for the paycheck. The moment you choose passion over security, you unlock a version of yourself that no salary could ever buy. And that's because when we get into our entrepreneur adventure, we know it's something we love so much. The feeling that we get for helping other people with what our zone of genius is outweighs any amount of money that you can get. And don't live somebody else's dream. When you're working for somebody else, you're working and helping them in their dream. But if you have a dream that you want to do, something that you want to be in your life, unlock that version of yourself and know what it's like to cut your own paycheck with your name on it. Your problems are your professors. Every flooded apartment, every brutally honest focus group, every failed launch isn't the universe working against you. It's the universe training you to become the person who can actually handle success. And that's why we talk about failures being something that teaches us to do things for the next thing we're going to do. But it also teaches us to handle the success when we actually have success. Keeping those tools in our toolbox and remembering back on the situations that we were before will always help us out when we come across something good and bad. So always remember, when we have these failures, it's not bad. It's not people pointing at you saying, this is bad for you. It's actually a learning opportunity. As cliche as it sounds, it's a learning opportunity to handle success. So always keep that in mind. And with that, I want to say thank you, Scuba Believers, for another great episode, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Goodbye, everybody. And there you have it, future entrepreneurs. We've taken a vital step on the journey across the start line. Remember, every great business begins with a single idea and the courage to pursue it. And you've already showed that courage just by being here today. As we wrap up this episode of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line, I want you to reflect on the path. You have to recognize the 4 hurdles of stop. Is it imposter syndrome holding you back? Is it perfectionism, failure, or fear? Identifying which one affects you the most is the key to unlocking your momentum. But here's the real secret. The hurdles are not in the way, they are the way. Every time you clear one, you're building the exact strength you need for your journey ahead. Until our next episode, keep pushing, keep dreaming, and keep jumping over those hurdles. This is Scoob, your guide across the start line. Remember, your future is waiting. I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today. Hello, Scuba Believers. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many cups of coffee have you had today? 3, 5, 7? And let me guess, you've got a Red Bull in the other hand just in case, right? Yeah, I see you. Now, here's the truth bomb nobody wants to hear. You're not building a business. You're building a caffeine dependency. Listen, I get it. When you're grinding 12, 14, 16-hour days, you're building something from nothing. When you've got payroll to meet, investors to impress, and visions that won't wait. You need fuel. But what if I told you that the fuel that you're using is actually slowing you down? What if the very thing that you think is keeping you sharp is actually making you dull? Enter Rise Coffee. This isn't your grandma's mushroom tea. This isn't some hippie wellness trend. This is science meets performance. And here's what makes Rise different. Less than half the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. You won't miss it. 6 organic powerhouse mushrooms, including cordyceps, what Olympic athletes use, and lion's mane, what Silicon Valley biohackers swear by. Sustained energy that doesn't spike and crash. We're talking smooth, clean power from morning to moonlight. Crystal clear focus without the jitters. Imagine closing the deal with calm, confident mind instead of the caffeine chaos. Gut health and immune support, because what's the point of building an empire if you're too sick to enjoy it? So here's the challenge to you. Stop borrowing energy from tomorrow. Stop running on fumes and call it a hustle. Stop wearing your caffeine addiction like a badge of honor. Real entrepreneurs optimize, real entrepreneurs adapt, real entrepreneurs win. You can't win if you're crashing at 2 p.m. while your competition is just getting started. Break the cycle. Head to risesuperfoods.com right now and use code PODNA15 for 50% off your first order. That's PODNA15 for 15% off. Try it for 30 days. If you don't feel the difference, if you don't feel sharper, calmer, more focused, more alive, then go back to your 6-a-day cup habit. But I'm telling you, we won't, because once you feel what real energy feels like, you'll never go back. Ditch the addiction, fuel your empire, and rise up. Rise Coffee, energy that builds, not burns.